All right. Okay. So, welcome. Welcome to On Your Terms with Ann and Bernice today. So, Bernice McDonald, I'm happy to welcome you today. And I so look forward to us having a conversation on um, just really about not being enough and what that feels like, right? But
Great
I-
to be here, Anne.
yeah, yeah. So happy to have you here. And so I wanted to take us through and let you know that this conversation, what we're going to do is explore what it really means to move from not enough to brave enough. And today we'll talk about what courage looks like in real life and in leadership, and how to rebuild confidence one step at a time. That's part of you as an expert and the things that you do with your group of women, and why aligned action matters more than perfection. And we're
Mm.
also going to share today, so people stay tuned. We'll also share the tiny brave step generator that Bernice has created. And it's a tool to help you all take this next small brave step. And we all could use a next small brave step, right? so,
Yes.
so, I want to just kind of say, here we are, and we're so excited to be here with both of you, with us here. So I wanted to ask you then, all right, as we get started. And we were talking about courage and thinking about how courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers just one small step at a time. And so I wanted to say that so often you say that courage doesn't start big, so it starts small.
Mhm.
What does that look like in everyday life or business for people?
Well, sometimes I think we think we need to take big leaps, right?
Mhm.
I know when I first started into my coaching business, I was learning from the best. And I was learning from all of these gurus who were already like way far along the journey. And I thought I needed to be there, within a very short time. And it held me back for so many years, and in my personal life, I already was feeling as if I wasn't enough in so many ways. And so when I started to apply that to business, it was the same struggle. Well, over time, what I have learned is that small steps taken every day get you to the horizon. That is what leads you forward and gets you to where you want to go. We stress so much over the big ones. So, the small ones are so much easier.
I know. And we always, it's just something that the human brain does, right? We
Mhm.
self doubt and this stuff goes through. So, why do you think that so many people wait to feel ready before taking action?
Well, again, it's that comparison thing, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we have to learn in order to do anything because
Mhm.
none of us are born experts and we don't jump into anything already knowing what to do. So I think it's a pretty normal thing to look at the person you're learning from or the mentors that you have and think that you need to be there. Plus, I don't know if you've heard of Dan Sullivan.
Mhm.
He has been co-writer or initiator of the books. There's one book called The Gap and the Gain, and I love the way he puts it. We set a horizon for ourselves, and we think that that is where we need to be. The problem with the horizon is that you never get there. The distance between now and that horizon is a gap. And many of us live in that gap, thinking like, and we never feel like we accomplish anything because we're always in that gap. No matter what we do, we think, well, that's not enough. I'm still, I've barely moved along the path. But when you look over your shoulder, that's called the gain. So you look and see how far you've come. It changes everything. And you see that a lot of the steps you took were very small. And it was just like one little attempt, one little experiment, one little thing that you put in place, and you look back and you say, wow, I have taken a lot of little brave steps to get me to where I am today. It energizes you. It gives you courage to start to keep moving forward rather than focusing on that gap in front of you.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love what Dan Sullivan and his writer,
Benjamin Hardy. Yeah.
Benjamin Hardy have done together.
Yeah.
And they have so many good books, but the same thing, the gap and the gain goes back to that premise of I'll be happy when,
Yes.
right? And we're always thinking about I'll be happy when I achieve that goal. I'll be happy
Mhm.
when I make X amount of money. And then
Yes.
we make X amount of money and then we go, okay, oh well, really? And then we have another one and we put these markers in place
Yeah.
where being present, just being present in what you talked about, building momentum, really, right? The tiny steps allows the confidence to continue. And I think of it as a tumbleweed that starts continuing
Yes.
more, right?
That's a good illustration. A good
Yeah,
way to think of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's much easier to take. It's not, and tiny steps are not necessarily easy. They are just simpler to take, because it's one little piece of the pie. It's one little thing you have to do. I think that's where the courage kicks in, right? Is that, taking that step sometimes can be very scary.
right,
But a small, scary step is a lot easier to take than a huge, scary step.
right, right. Because all these steps, because taking a step, right? And I think about that when
Yeah.
sometimes you want to take that step and it's the fear of the unknown. There's so
Yeah.
many things, and we're going to talk about all the factors that contribute to that. But yes, just the idea of knowing the small step gets us to the next step, and the next step takes us somewhere that we can adapt and pivot. So I think that that's what I like. Or people talk about biting the cookie.
Yeah.
A bite at a time type of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
great. Well, here, let me lead us into what courage actually looks like. And okay, well, I wonder, I'm going to maximize this just for a minute so you can see the steps, right?
You bet.
And no, I lost. So basically, looking how courage starts out, what we're talking about, and how it builds the confidence, and then it takes us into momentum, and and then we end up with a result and move along. So I'm going to de-maximize this for a minute. But thinking of this topic a little bit,
Mhm.
I know that you work with women on navigating change. That could be career transitions or business pivots or reinvention. What fears do you see most often with that group of ladies?
Well, I I think the most common thing I've seen is that fear of not being enough. It's like, who am I to be doing this?
Yeah.
And again, the comparison thing, looking at other people who are doing the same thing and thinking that, we're not uh, at that level, or we don't have that capacity, or we don't look that good doing it. Like there's all kinds of reasons why we feel not enough. And I really believe that is, I mean, I knew that in my own experience, feeling that way. And it's a sad thing because I really believe it blocks our potential in so many ways.
Yeah, I totally get it. I get it because it's almost like it's always an experiment, and
Yeah.
sometimes we want to make sure the experiment is like what we want the outcome to be. And what we're doing right now is an experiment because this is only episode 2. So this for me is like I feel like I'm taking that brave step to step out to with
You
you.
are. And
And
congratulations, by the way, on this wonderful show. I love On Your Terms. I
well,
think that that's an awesome title.
yeah, it's so fun and it's so fun to think about. And we're going to talk about how we met in a little bit and how that works. But I want you to kind of help us a little bit with this path in terms of how do you help clients quiet that not enough voice when it shows up?
That is a good question. But I'm going to say that I don't tell them to quiet it because, they never will.
Mhm.
Fear is something that is always with us. It's something that's built into our brains. It's always there, and part of fear is telling us that we're not enough.
Mhm.
Uh, Fear, act is meant to be a protector for us, and really, it's protecting us from killing ourselves or, jumping off a roof or petting a wild animal, as I often say. That's a good thing about fear.
Mhm.
But fear doesn't know the difference, because it's a built-in mechanism in our brains between having our lives in danger and actually doing something that puts us at risk of being humiliated or failing, looking silly. We don't like that as human beings. We want to always look confident.
Yes.
We always want to have that strong perspective and look at that persona, right?
Mhm.
So when I tell women about, one of the things that's really important is that they recognize that fear is always with them and that voice is always there. So what we have to learn to do is to take steps and to take action despite the fact that we feel afraid.
Mhm.
There's a quote by Ambrose Redmoon that I have always stood by, and actually was a big part of starting this journey of courage.
Mm.
And what he said was, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than the fear.
Mm. Yes.
And I have always thought of that. It's like, do I let this fear stop me? Is my life in danger? Do I let the fear stop me? Or is it more important that I grow in this moment? Is it more important that I take this step despite the fact that my heart is beating out of my chest, despite the fact that I'm feeling really terrified? Often when we take that step, that's when courage kicks in. And often when we take that step, I call it putting your hairy little toe over that line and just doing it. What
Yes.
we find is that it wasn't so bad,
Mhm.
because our brains will tell us all these stories about how awful it's going to be, how you're going to fall on your face, you're going to look so silly. But when you get there, it doesn't turn out that way at all.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And we've all faced it, and we know when we do it enough. See, that's the piece about it, is that if you do it enough and you start telling your mind that these are little experiments or
Yes.
whatever that is,
Yes.
then we actually know that we can build the bridge to the other side.
Yeah.
But when we're starting out on anything, no matter if you have to go and present in front of 500 or 5,000 or 5 people, it's
Yeah.
still that, getting in front of people and just kind of getting in motion. But what you talked about in going into building courage is, and this about going from fear is also, about, I want to touch on compassion a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, how does having compassion actually help with building courage and momentum?
It is so important because we will never respond to beating ourselves up, right? And we all know that. How often have we spent, how many days sometimes in bed with the blankets pulled up over our heads because we're beating ourselves up for something we said, something we did, something we didn't do, some situation we're in. But really, when it comes right down to it, I think the whole idea that I learned that helped me to see fear as almost an outside entity, which it's a psychological trick that we can play on ourselves. And so I used to see fear as this big dragon flying around my brain, trying to protect me. And when I was in between my 2 marriages and anticipating the dating again,
Mhm.
I came across a coach who said, you're going to be afraid. So what I want you to do is I want you to see that fear and shrink it down to this tiny little dragon. And I want you to tell it to go over there in the corner and eat a cookie. And then I want you to take charge and you just keep going ahead and take that step, go on that date, do that thing, because, and let fear keep chirping away because it'll always be there.
Yeah.
But you just need to go ahead and do what you need to do, despite the fact that it's worried about you. Make an assessment, be the boss. Tell it, okay, I hear you, but I'm going to take this step anyways.
Mhm. And we just quiet it down. I love
Yeah.
that. I love the dragon eating the cookie because you've distracted him. And I
Exactly.
come around, and so then in a little bit I'll see you coming back. But I love that. So it's so
Yeah.
good. That's
Well,
good.
In a lot of ways, lately I've been saying it's like having fear on your board of advisors.
Mhm.
You know, it's one voice. It's something that gives you, we can listen to what fear is telling us and learn to have a relationship with it in a way. It's like, okay, I feel that fear. So what's it telling me? What
Yes.
is going on here? And once you start to really see it as a separate entity and realize you have the choice at that point to make a decision,
Mhm.
then you can go ahead and do that, um, knowing, okay, I've considered these possibilities, and yeah, I could really be embarrassed, or I could really fail at this. But if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of have a discussion there, and then you go ahead and make the decision to do it anyway.
Yeah. Because when we do learn, I feel that learning to be of choice is a skill. And
Yes.
it's something that we have to develop over time. And we only develop that when we've achieved some success. And
Yes.
then, and it could be just success in anything that we do, like starting out walking. And then all of a sudden, you say, I want to edge a little more and walk a little more and do a little more. And then you're up to from, you know, I don't know, 10 minutes to 20 minutes to
Yeah.
an hour. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but you are of choice. It's your choice to get up and out the door. It's your choice to set goals that are big and bold,
Yeah.
yet know how to take the steps back in order to
Exactly.
make other things happen, right? So
Exactly. So
yeah,
many advantages in so many areas. Want to learn to just know, hey, I can make the decision here about what I do and what is best for me in
right.
this moment.
And what you just pointed out is that you're owning that yourself.
Yes.
Right. And I think that for many entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, um, those that, whomever, it doesn't even pertain to that. I just know that entrepreneurs, founders, and business owners are always on a roller coaster ride.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of things that go along. But everyone, we all lead ourselves. And when we take ownership of that, knowing that it is our choice. Now, there
Yes.
are external things that happen all the time, right? There are things that we can't control, but we can control how we go around it and
Yes.
do things, right? So,
How we respond.
how we
Exactly.
respond. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to, and we'll talk about how we met in a bit, but let's talk about some of the not enough cycle, right? So
Mhm.
we have touched on some of these. We really talked about, having courage. Sometimes there are a lot of blockers. So I've listed these. There are five there, five
Yeah.
blockers that
Yeah.
kind of most most likely come up in a lot of times. But the fear of failure, we really talked about. You mentioned comparison.
Yes.
You've even gotten to self-doubt, and you spoke about perfectionism.
Mhm.
And then that last part about lack of compassion is really a lot of times I feel like, and you might see this a lot, is that people are thinking about other people
Mhm.
and they don't think about how to have compassion for themselves, and not as a protection. I
Yeah.
mean, right? Not just as protection, but just as a way of life. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I need to regroup sometime. I
Yes.
need I need a little bit of like, okay, stay away. I think we learn
Yeah.
through depending on what type of personality you are. For
Yeah.
instance, if you're an introvert or an extrovert, right?
Yes.
And over time, I've learned this that introverts and extroverts, that's just a matter of where people are, how you regain your energy.
Yeah.
So, right. An introvert regains its energy by going back and just having quiet. An extrovert needs to like regain their energy when they're really feeling low. They got to get out in the people.
Yeah.
And so, actually, for myself, I'm actually an introvert at heart, but I've learned to be an extrovert socially. So we can be a combination of things, but it comes down to how we regain that energy. But you need to also understand feelings in
Yeah.
order to have compassion, right?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
might be able to have compassion for other people, but we
Yeah.
don't necessarily. I think we always, moms are guilty. Moms
Yep.
are guilty of this, right?
Yep.
They give it all to everybody else.
Yeah.
And sometimes the spouses will be like, I'm even beneath the dogs, right?
That's
So
right. Exactly.
we think of, where you are
Yeah.
in the list, of course.
Yeah.
But we all need to be able to have some compassion. And one of the other things that I um, learned over time too is also being vulnerable to let people know that they're struggling,
Yeah.
not in a, hey, I'm really struggling here and help me, but
Yeah.
in a way that, you know what, I'm going through a hard time right now, so I probably need just a bit of time, or I need some space. But
Yeah.
when we can tell other people that today was a bad day,
Yeah.
tomorrow's not going to be bad, but you got to let me sulk a little bit, and then I
Yeah.
can get into that. It really does help people not feel dismissed on the
Yes.
other side. Does that make sense?
Oh, you make such a good point because, and I like the way you put it about having compassion for yourself.
Mhm.
I call it in my courage framework. The
Mhm.
second, wake up your courage is first, but the second one is embrace who you are,
Mm.
because it's only in knowing who you are, really understanding your personality, your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. It's only then that you can then stand up for yourself, which is the third part of my framework. Like, it's like, know yourself and then give yourself some grace. Like, let yourself be that person and stand up for that person, including what really bothers you. Like, if things scare you, if you're feeling afraid, it's the 90-second rule, right? Let yourself feel that. Say, this is fear, or I'm terrified, or I feel dismissed, I feel rejected. Let yourself feel that. And I got this from Tony Robbins. But
Mhm.
then decide who you want to be.
Yes.
Let yourself feel that, but and understand it, but then decide in the next moment, okay, I'm done with I still feel that, and I'm kind of done with it. I'm going to move on. I'm going to make the decision about who I'm going to be in the next hour, like how I'm going to respond to this situation.
Yeah.
And one of the best things I think I've learned is compassion for
Mhm.
myself, to be okay with who I am. And
Yes.
it's actually removed a lot of my fear of messing up, or fear
Mhm.
of criticism, or
Mhm.
you become an individual who lives her life and has all of these responses to different situations, and that's okay, because that's who you are. So that's what you have to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I love that because it goes back to taking ownership, being
Yeah.
a choice. But in order to do that, we don't just like show up and wake up and say, "Oh yes, I own this." I mean, we can fake it till you make it. I know that they have had times where you need to do that in certain
Yeah.
right? However, when you with one of those framework pieces that you're talking about,
Yes.
finding you, understanding who you are today allows you to build the bridge of who you want to be tomorrow.
Yes.
And that is always resonated with me, that who I am today it doesn't define me,
No.
because I have the ability to grow and expand. And
Yes.
that's a mindset. Carol Dweck created those terms, fixed mindset and growth mindset.
Yeah.
And in that, for many times, I mean, there are things that our mothers have told us and other people have told us about, okay, maybe you need to go back to bed and get up on the other side because you're a
Yes.
grouch, right? but but the
Never made
piece,
sense to me.
right. So, but part of that is that um Carol Dweck just labeled the term fixed
Yeah.
mindset and growth mindset. And the growth mindset means that we are willing to be adaptable and we're
Yeah.
willing to be open to what might become. So
Yeah.
we don't have to say that I'm old. We just want to see what things that we want to do when we are at certain stages of our life, or who
Yeah.
we want to become and when we want to become. So
Yeah.
I love going back to that because you need to be grounded in who you are.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of ways to learn about who I am. And there are different ways to do that in different places to do it. So I love that you help them with that piece.
Oh, it's so important. I think one of the most moving things that people can do is to picture their future self. I did that with a group of women in the last workshop I put on, and we used AI to my Tiny Brave Steps generator to go in there and actually picture what your future self was. And then we had it write a letter back to us from the future. It was so beautiful. It was just tremendously moving. And it inspires me now so much to look ahead to who I want to be and who I am becoming. Because even as Benjamin Hardy said in a book I read recently, you're not even the same person that you were yesterday. Right. Today is literally a new day, and you have grown some little teeny way, since yesterday even.
Yes. No. And that's where we're going to next, is that I wanted to talk about this tool that you've created, Tiny Brave Steps, and tell us what inspired you to create it. Really,
it was kind of accidental. Yeah, it was, I wanted to find a way, because I was really getting deeply interested in the world of AI. And I was poking around in there trying, finding out how, and I was getting so many answers for developing my business through AI, and so many good ideas about the person that I needed to be in order to be able to build the business I wanted to. And so I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could transfer that, and Stacy, our common coach, said, well, you can do that in Chat GPT. You can create something, you can put your philosophy, your guidelines into a Chat GPT, and then you can give a link to people, and they will then be able to access all of that. So I started to experiment with it, and I was really blown away. Now I give that link to everyone. I called it the Tiny Brave Steps generator because that's exactly what it does. It leads you through a discussion, your feelings, your thoughts about whatever topic, and then it will say, okay, are you ready for some steps? And then it will provide for you a 5-minute mindset or a 90-second mindset reflection, and then 2 5-minute steps that you can take.
Well, of course, and I'm going to bring that up on our next little subject, but how we met and what we've done with that. But I was so enamored by this generator and just what it means, because it's a tool that sometimes we just need to, we can't have someone to talk to all the time. And I'm not saying that ChatGPT should be the person that we rely on all the time either, but it's nice to have a tool. And that's what's nice about AI, is that while it is doing so much and we don't even know the extent of what it will do, when we can embrace it in places that it can be beneficial, then it really makes a world of difference. And this tool is, and I recommend anyone that should download this tool to know about how to take these tiny brave steps and what that means, because it is a coach in your pocket, and it really gives someone maybe just a little bit of courage when you're doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes in the middle of the night you're up, you can't sleep. I've used it myself so many times to help me just settle, a thought I had, something I needed to make a decision about, or just be creative about. I was stuck, and it helped me at any time of day. I can be sitting in a doctor's office waiting to go in for an appointment, be on my phone and use it. And it just helps me to right away start to think about some other options, not just the ones that are stuck in my head or won't come to me.
Well, and I would say that it surpasses like scrolling through social media or any of those things. It's actually helpful for you, and it's doing something that might generate an idea sometimes
Yeah.
when you're answering a question, it helps you to generate an idea, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I needed today.
Yes.
Or it might give you a step of courage about whatever topic it is that it's going through there.
Exactly.
So that is going to, so that's great. Now, how would they get this tool?
That they can go to tinybravesteps.com
Mhm.
and just sign up. It's free.
Great.
I just want to help people. I want to support them on their journey, and I truly like. I've been using this lately to really help me work through some blocks. I've had other people tell me. Our coach again, even she uses it regularly and says, I had a decision to make, and it really helped me to sort things out.
Mhm.
I had somebody using it who was getting back into the dating world, and she was assessing her dates that she was having, and it was helping her to really figure out who the kind of person she wanted to be with. So it's being used in a lot of different ways. So yeah, tinybravesteps.com, you can just sign up and it'll take you to the link.
Oh, great. Well, one of the other things, because I know this is just one tool that you have, but can you talk a little bit about how you work with the women and what's available to them? So,
Sure.
you know,
The main thing that I have right now is I call it the door into starting to get a taste of courage, is called creative spaces. It's again a complementary group that can lead to other workshops and that sort of thing once you're in the group. But women can come on Zoom every other Tuesday morning for an hour and a half, and it's mostly a workspace. So what I really encourage women to do is bring something to that hour that you've been struggling getting done. Find something, because my philosophy is if you take one step, it's going to so invigorate you. You are going to be so proud of yourself, and progress is happiness, again, as Tony Robbins says. But it's so true. What helps us to feel better about ourselves is when we get something done. And so I invite women into that creative space. They come, they bring all kinds of things. I have bookkeepers, I have real estate agents, I have coaches, I have all kinds of women coming there who are taking that hour and accomplishing something. And we at the end of it, we talk about what we got done. And I have never, most of them will say right out, oh, I can't believe how much I got done in this time, just to be on Zoom all together in a group. It's sort of the whole psychological thing of buddy. I can't body. I can't remember what they call it, but it's an ADHD thing. But
yes,
it really helps just to have other people there. The timer's going, you're focused, and you just get write down and get it done. So
yeah,
that's the main way that I'm working with women right now. From there, we build relationships to see what they need, and the coaching comes from there.
right. Well, that's excellent. It's really nice for people to have that space because a lot of times I look at the world that we are in, you and I,
Mm,
and I call that the internal world.
yeah.
When we're kind of
Yeah.
inside the internet, and we're inside spaces where we can be all places versus externally where the people we see day to day. But there's a whole world inside,
Yeah.
and it's finding the places and spaces for where we want to be and where we want to grow. And I think from COVID, we all learned a lot about this, and we're actually forced into it in so many ways, and it's helped in a lot of ways that way. Uh,
Yes.
but having those creative spaces is, giving them what they did is that you enabled them
Yeah.
to take a brave step, and they took the brave step to come to the space.
Yeah.
And then once they're in the space, oh my goodness, that gives them another set of courage. So what you're doing is really helping so many people in so many ways. And I think that's the wonderful thing about where people have different coaching pathways and the things that they do. And having that tool is a creation from what you found that people needed. So when they can't be near you or with you, they have an asset to do. Well,
Exactly.
yeah. So that kind of leads me into, so I put these are the steps that are on your website for always know what to do next. Okay. So
I recognize the little feet, tiny brave steps.
just 20 baby steps one at a time. See, you never know what you get with me when you come on the show. The things I find. Um, so, so this leads into basically how you and I met, right?
Yeah.
And you and I met through Stacy, who's one of our coaches. And when I saw your tiny brave steps, I was like, oh my gosh, that made my head spin. And this had to be 5 or 6 months ago when this occurred. And once my mind saw how it worked, my mind started going crazy. And I have spent, I don't know, I would wake up between 3 and 5 in the morning and I would just play with Chat GPT. And my mind was like, oh, let's see what this can do. And how could I do this? And what would this mean? Because basically what you said when you opened up and talked about that is that this is a place, a way to take your knowledge and bring it forward.
Yeah.
And I have thought for the last 14 or 15 years that I have much longer than that, but I really went into coaching like 15 years ago. And my prior experience had been in sales and sales management, where I did always worked on developing people. So mindset always played a part of that, even though that wasn't the title of it all at that time. But basically, I have taken so many courses because I am an avid learner. If I could just learn every day, I would be fine. Take me to wherever, just let me go somewhere and learn. So I love the learning of things, but I also like getting things done. And so that allowed me to encompass all of those things that I do for leadership development. I was thinking, okay, how can we work in mindset? How can we work in actionable goals? How can we work in ways to identify just those big goals that you want to have, how to move the dial forward? I mean, anything that it takes to how to grow a business, because myself, that's what I'm doing, is helping business owners up level and take what they've grown and make it more. And so I want to thank you, Bernice, because you were total inspiration for me. And that is exactly why I wanted other people to know and understand what you do. So I built this coach in your pocket that is designed so that you can reflect, you realign, and then you come out stronger. And they're just typically on these generators, you usually have 4 or 5 questions. And then those questions then lead you into something else. But they're different. They overlap in certain ways, but they are different.
Yes, and yours is amazing too, Anne. The day that you walked me through it, it's incredible. I would say anybody should check it out too. And this is what it's becoming. It's becoming a tool that coaches can use to be coaching their people. Oh, because it's absolutely amazing, isn't it? How it can come to a conclusion, and the same kind of conclusion that you might have helped them with, and sometimes even better than you would have helped them with, just because all of your philosophy is built into these AIs.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a little time in order to get it all put together and have something that's meaningful and purposeful. And everyone's will be different in different ways. But I just know that, once you go through and if you see it, I know when I had my daughter she went through it a little. She's 27, but they're all young. Those 20 somethings are still finding their way. And who do we want to be when we grow up? And I'm like, well, I don't know if you'll ever answer that question. If you're a lifelong learner, because we're always adapting and growing, but we all have to learn it little by little, because we can't, overcome or bite it all in one piece, because that wouldn't be so much fun, because we wouldn't have other chapters to go through. Right.
Exactly. That's the adventure.
That's the adventure. And so what I like about these generators is that it allows you, I wanted Mindset Coach to be something that you would have that coach in your pocket on those times when, if you've never worked with a coach, it gives you an idea of what working with a coach is like. And then also, if you're working with a coach, it allows you to, in the interim times, to be able to be reflective, to also answer questions of things that you might want to do, or to just say, because I wanted to lean in on this privacy thing for a minute, right? Because sometimes people are afraid of, oh, well, people have my personal information. Well, this is what's so great about it, is that these are private amongst their own. They're only powered. They get our framework, they get our whole piece, but we don't get the information on them, right? So that's really important when you're talking about these types of things.
I love that.
And how they work. And I even have mine is set to ensure that people know that this is them reflecting and answering their own questions, and it is not designed to be a therapist. And it will identify different things to let them know that, different areas that they might want further outreach in certain ways, as well as coaching where we should go next. Because I didn't really stop there. I built mindsetcoach.ai, but I also built rightnextstep.ai. And that is, and it's kind of like your tiny brave steps, but it's really for a business owner to say, what's my right next step? Because business, I have a framework that I take people through, like you've got your framework. And that really is taking leadership and sales and marketing and operations and, management meetings and cash flow and all of those pieces together. And that's a wheel that it expands and expands and expands. So that's what the right next step helps people to kind of get stuck in their business structure in a different way. But that's where we are in this world. So it's kind of nice that we kind of come through that and that we are. I mean, I just want to say that bravo to us for innovation, right?
I think so. Yeah. You're staying with the times. Well, how many times have they said, if you don't get on board with AI, you're going to be left behind in a real hurry? That did move me to start to learn how to use AI. And I actually use it a lot. It has helped my productivity, cut the time in half.
Right. It allows us to bring more of what we need to bring to the table. We don't have to be so busy washing the dishes or cleaning the floors or doing whatever it is, because it's allowing us to all bring that together. And I think that for anyone trying out these tools, see how this might apply to things that you're doing in your life. You never know what you might come up with and what might happen, right? Because as coaches, we want to inspire people to move forward. So now we're getting to kind of a little bit of a wrap up, but I wanted to talk about, I created this on your terms because I feel that is a really big pillar of what I believe in, is that we as entrepreneurs get into this so that we have have choices of our own in life. And we want to have those freedoms, but it can be a little crazy and a bumpy ride. But embracing living on your terms, that is something that anyone could do, whether an entrepreneur or not. But I want to know for you, because we all have a different philosophy, like we all have different reasons for what life is going to be and how we want our life to look, who I am, right? Who am I going to become, type of thing. So how would you answer that question, Bernice? What does living living life on your terms mean to you?
Well, it takes me right to the core, really, of why, of how I live my life and the attitude that I have. I had to come several years ago to a place where I realized, again, it was reading, I believe it was The Courage to Be Disliked, which is based on the philosophy of a psychologist back in I can't remember his name right now. But what he talked about was how we are each on our own paths, and we are individuals on those paths. Nobody else really has can see inside of our heads, like you were talking about, Anne, our internal world. We are who we are. So living on your own terms means knowing who you are, standing up for you and creating that impact that you want to make in the world, but doing it as you, not like somebody else, not like you think you should do it, but
Right.
really digging deep and finding out who that person is deep inside of you and what you're meant to do. What's your purpose? What are your gifts? And how can you bring that into everything you do?
Right.
So I love it. I love the freedom of thinking of doing things on my own terms. And really, I come back to that over and over again.
Mhm. Yeah. And that is a really good opportunity for reflection time. You have creative spaces where people can come in and think about how they want to live life on their terms.
Yeah.
Right. And there are so many other ways that people could do that. You could even use either of our tools to go in and say, how would I want to live life on my terms? And
Yes.
start kind of playing with that a little bit.
Great prompt.
Right? Because you've got some of those prompts about establishing courage and bravery. I have these things that will take what it means to live on your terms and what that means in terms of what are the blocks that are getting in your way, and both. See, there's going to be some overlap, but some differences in both. And it's really a great way for people to start thinking about those things, because I think that, well, it's my personal opinion that when you can design a life that you can live on your terms, it does give you the freedom, and the freedom allows you to generate the happiness about whatever balance it is that you want. And I know that those are the things that I've learned in life. We're always juggling balls, but to be able to do that is a gift. And we can build the gift ourselves. We don't wait for someone to give us that gift. We can go out and make that happen.
Exactly. Well said.
Mm-hmm. And so with this, I was going to leave everybody with the idea of exploring your free tool and going to tinybravesteps.com. You can use my tool at mindsetcoach.com, and you can contact either one of us. We will put that in the show notes in terms of where to find us. Right?
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's that. And with that, I am going to take this and have you and I here. And I just want to say thank you for being here. And do you have anything that you want to wrap up with? Or any thoughts that you want to leave anyone with?
I think that my greatest passion for people is that they do find who they are, and that they do live life on their terms. If they stop waiting for the fear to go away and they take those steps now, don't wait. Start taking the small steps forward, because as you take them, your courage muscles grow and you will be amazed at where it takes you.
Yes, that's so good. And right behind you, I don't know if you could pick that up, you have a book.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, it's a series called Little Books of Courage. This is my first one. I just Brave Enough to Be Myself. I just published Brave Enough to Let Go. And I actually am in the process of, I'm just on the verge of publishing one that's called Tame Your Fear and Name Him Fred, which is a little micro book that talks about the whole philosophy of separating fear like a little dragon and having him become your companion rather than threatening. So
yes. Well, I love how you have taken this idea of your growth, and then you were brave enough to put it in a book. And your little book, what I love about these little books of courage that you're developing, I mean, this is just something that you've just started developing. You've had this, and you were the illustrator, I believe, in this book, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. AI. Yeah. Using.
It's fabulous. And it's a workbook is the way I look at it. It's not it's easy to get through, and it's a great first step for just doing something on your own.
Yes.
Besides the Tiny Brave Steps, I would say they complement each other.
Mhm.
And it's a great tool. And I
My
just
my second book too, if I can just say, is
yes,
a lot of AI prompts throughout the book, because, and I want to go back and do that with my first ones too. But going forward, all of my books, lots of white space, lots of thought-provoking things, but a lot of ways to prompt
mhm,
AI as well, so
mhm,
that you go deeper and it's very personal.
yeah. Well, personal development is something that we have to plan for. And sometimes people don't embrace it. I would say a lot of people embrace it, and they're very good in helping their children embrace it when they sign them up to work with a coach, or they sign them up with an activity to learn tennis or learn a sport or learn music, all of those things. We sometimes like pass it on that way,
Yeah,
but then we don't embrace it ourselves.
true.
So I encourage anyone to think about where in their life they can add personal development, because it really is a rewarding experience. And just vet out the people that you want to learn and find the space that you want to be in. So
Mhm.
I want to say to you that it's been a pleasure to have you, and to have you as my friend and as my colleague as well. And I thought that,
Thank you, Ann.
yeah, this was fun today.
It was
And
great to be here.
right. So with that, I'll wrap up. And in the show notes, you'll find out how to reach us. And you've got tinybravesteps.com for the tool, and mindsetcoach.ai for the other tool. But until then, we'll see you next time. And we appreciate you being with us. All right. Okay. Bye bye now.
Bye, everyone.